The Battle of Mukta was one of the first military engagements between the Muslims and the Byzantines in 629. It was a fierce and bloody battle that resulted in heavy casualties on both sides. In this video, I will tell you the story of how it happened and why it was important. The battle was triggered by the assassination of Al-Harith ibn Umayr, a Muslim envoy sent by the Prophet Muhammad to deliver a letter to the ruler of Basra, a city in Syria under Byzantine control. The envoy was killed by a tribal chief allied with the Byzantines, who considered the letter an insult and a threat. When the Prophet learned of this, he was outraged and decided to send an army of 3,000 men to confront the Byzantines and their allies. He appointed Zayd ibn Haritha as the commander and gave him 2 other companions as his successors in case he was killed, Ja'far ibn Abi Talib and Abdullah ibn Rawaha. The Muslim army marched towards Syria, but on their way, they encountered a much larger force of Byzantines and Arabs, estimated at 100,000 men. The Muslims were outnumbered and outmatched. They contemplated waiting for reinforcements from Medina. Abdullah ibn Rawaha, however, reminded them of their desire for martyrdom and questioned the need to wait when what they desired awaited them. Encouraged by this, they continued marching towards the awaiting army. The clash between the Muslims and the Byzantines occurred near the village of Musharraf, and then both sides withdrew towards Mukta. The battleground, situated in a valley between 2 heights, neutralized the Byzantines' numerical advantage. The battle began with a fierce charge by the Muslims, who managed to break through the enemy lines and inflict heavy losses on them. However, they also suffered many casualties, and soon Zayd ibn Haritha fell from his horse, wounded by an arrow. He passed the banner of Islam to Ja'far ibn Abi Talib, who took over the command. Ja'far fought bravely and skillfully, wielding 2 swords and inspiring his men with his courage. He killed many enemies and wounded many more, but he also received many wounds himself. He lost his right hand, then his left hand, but he still held the banner with his arms. He was eventually surrounded by the enemy and killed by a spear. He passed the banner to Abdullah ibn Rawaha, who also fought valiantly until he met his death. Following Abdullah's death, the Muslim forces were on the brink of being overwhelmed, causing disorder within their ranks. Some fled the battlefield, while others resisted in small groups. In this crucial moment, Khalid ibn Arqam seized the banner and spotted Khalid, who stood next to him. Acknowledging Khalid's leadership, he handed him the banner and encouraged him to take command. After initial hesitation, Khalid accepted the banner and took control of the Muslim forces. The commanders preceding Khalid had displayed more courage than strategic judgment during the battle. Khalid swiftly organized his small army into a well-deployed fighting force. As the newly appointed commander, he found himself confronted with 3 crucial choices. In the first option, he could decide to withdraw, aiming to prevent harm to the Muslim forces but understanding the risk of being perceived as defeated. Alternatively, he could opt for the second choice, maintaining a defensive posture, knowing that the enemy's overwhelming strength might eventually lead to the Muslims' inevitable defeat. The third option involved a bold move, launching an attack to disrupt the enemy's plans and gaining valuable time for strategic planning. Understanding the urgency, Khalid opted for the third choice, launching a lightning strike on the Byzantine flanks. His skilled horsemen sliced through the surprised ranks, creating chaos and panic among the Byzantines. This audacious move shattered their formation, disrupted their charge, and resulted in a brief but significant pause in the battle. Seizing a critical opportunity, Khalid orchestrated a strategic retreat with discipline and precision, demonstrating his mastery as a tactician. The Byzantines, lured by the withdrawing Muslims, unknowingly walked into a trap set by Zayd before his fall. A narrow pass where their numerical advantage became a hindrance. Muslim archers strategically placed kept the Byzantines at bay, retreating just beyond the archers' reach as night fell. During the night, Khalid recognized the need for a clever strategy. He devised plans to surprise the enemy, dividing his army into small groups arriving at different times to deceive the Byzantines into thinking more Muslim reinforcements were on the way. With the Byzantines still unsettled from the unexpected blow the previous day, Khalid observed their emotional vulnerability. Capitalizing on this, he ordered the Muslim army to launch an attack, shifting from a defensive to an offensive strategy. The sudden assault scattered the enemy, causing panic and ultimately leading to their retreat. While Muqta may not have resulted in a clear victory, it highlighted Khalid's brilliance in turning potential annihilation into survival. His genius extended beyond the battlefield, earning praise from historians for innovative hit-and-run attacks and mastery of psychological warfare. Al-Bukhari reported about Khalid's relentless courage, using 9 swords that broke during his intense fight against the Byzantine army. Back in Medina, Khalid's exceptional skills caught the attention of Prophet Muhammad, who honored him with the title of Sayf Allah, the Sword of God. The Battle of Muqta had several consequences for both sides. For the Muslims, it was a test of their faith and courage that strengthened their resolve and unity. It also increased their reputation among other tribes and nations as brave warriors who could challenge the mighty Byzantine Empire. It also paved the way for future expeditions and conquests in Syria and beyond. For the Byzantines, it was a wake-up call that alerted them to the rising threat of Islam on their borders. It also exposed their weaknesses and divisions among their allies and vassals. It also motivated them to prepare for more wars and conflicts with the Muslims in the coming years. The Battle of Muqta was a historic event that marked the beginning of a long and bitter rivalry between Islam and Byzantium that would shape the history of the Middle East for centuries.